Yo, how's it going everyone? It's me, Arctic. Today's video, we're going to be looking at the character Yoimiya. Now, Genshin Impact actually released these characters, however they didn't release stats and information. So I thought since we want to know more about these characters, we would actually look at their character information. So starting with Yoimiya today. Also doing videos on Kamisato Ayaka, who got her new stats, and also Sayu, who is another character that is going to be in 1.7. So if you guys are interested in that type of content, feel free to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. But anyway, let's get to the rest of the video. So we don't have the information for Yoimiya in the actual Honey Hunter World database at the moment. We just have her like character info, character skill, thanks to another source actually. So the source that I'm going to be using today is going to be Dimbreath on Twitter. Now, this is usually one of the leakers, I guess. Please, Maho, you don't strike me down, but this is basically just speculatory information. There's not going to be any sort of actual gameplay footage. I'm just going to be showing you kind of generally what the skills are looking like at the moment. Now, these are subject to change, so keep that in mind. But anyway, again, thanks to Dimbreath, and also, I guess, Genshin for leaking their own stuff, you know. Okay, so as you can see, we have got the character skill information and the constellation information. We don't have the passives information at the moment, which is going to be pretty interesting because usually the passives are what make or break characters in terms of their usability and viability in team comps. So it's going to be interesting to see what her actual passives are. But her kit right now looks very strong. At Constellation 0, it looks pretty good. At Constellation 1 and 2, it's going to look insane, actually. Start with her normal attack right here. So she is kind of like Ganyu, where she has her normal attacks, but then she also has a charge attack that has multiple different levels. So at charge attack level 1, it's just going to shoot the normal flame arrow dealing pyro damage. Charge level 2, you're going to be able to stack this up to 3 times. So what this basically means is that we're going to have up to 4 stacks with the charge attack level 2, which is going to be kind of interesting because it'll probably take longer than Ganyu to set up. But it'll shoot fire homing missiles basically that'll auto track nearby enemies and deal pyro damage on hit. So that's gonna be pretty interesting if you're trying to hit multiple enemies. They'll factor in pretty good with lots of different characters. Now her E spell right here, it's Ryukin Komatsuga. So Yoimiya follows her own stuff. I'm not gonna read that, but so basically Ryukin Komatsuga, she leaps into the air, which is actually kind of like Kazuha. So she's going to leap into the air, fire fireworks in front of her, dealing AoE pyro damage, tagging enemies on hit with the Ryukin Flare. And so when party members, excluding Yoimiya, hit enemies under the effects of Ryukin Flare with their normal attacks, charged attacks, plunging attacks, elemental skill, or elemental burst, an explosion will occur that deals AoE pyro damage. So she's going to kind of be like a Mona, if you can think of that. Because Mona, when she uses her ult, she gives the like little sigil kind of thing. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to set up a Vaporize with Mona and also Vaporize with whatever your element you're triggering it with, which actually is pretty cool to do. So it'll be kind of similar with Yoimiya. Like you're going to be using like a Ganyu, using your charge attacks to set off this, and it'll basically double melt actually. When enemies under the effects of Ryukin Flare are defeated, the Ryukin Flare will be transferred to another enemy nearby and continue for the remaining duration. Now this is slightly different from Tartaglia's, this is basically just the Riptide effect, except a little bit stronger, I would say. But Tartaglia's Riptide, basically what it does is whenever he applies it again, whenever he defeats enemies, it spreads between them. And this seems to be similar, except his basically has such a long duration that you don't even worry about this. I'm kind of worried that the duration of the Ryukin Flare will actually be too short. But they just say it'll explode every 2 seconds. So that could mean that like this is going to last like maybe 6-7 seconds, or it could last even longer. Depending on her passives. If her passives is kind of similar to Tartaglia's, where it gives a duration increase to this effect, that could be pretty good. Now on to her burst ultimate. So the Flaming Blazing Dance. So lights up strings of fireworks and makes Flavor revolve around Yoimiya. Her normal attacks will be converted to Pyro, and that's very good for DPS Yoimiya because you're gonna get like lots of extra capabilities with her like auto attacks if she's on the field. Also, dealing pyro damage and increasing the damage of the normal attacks. So this is kind of like Yanfei's burst ultimate, where it's just a power boost to her DPS potential with on-field DPS. So during Blazing Dance, charge level 2 will no longer generate a tracking arrow. So what that means is that instead of having to charge up like 4 times with her charge, because you're not going for homing missiles, you're going for a single shot. What you're trying to do with this is go for melt reactions, and hopefully that would actually be pretty good. And have like a large multiplier. So this will probably be just like a one single, kind of like burst damage kind of charge shot. And so Blazing Dance effect will be removed when Yoimiya switched away. That's very similar to Yanfei. Now getting into Constellations. Now, these Constellations are actually pretty good. Yeah, and so the first 2 are the main ones I would say that you should go for. Ones that are very, very valuable for her kit overall in terms of damage for Yoimiya. So her first Constellation increases the duration of Ryukin Flare by 4 seconds. So I don't know if this will stack on top of her passive. That'll hopefully increase her duration of Ryukin Flare. But if not, Ryukin Flare by 4 seconds, I'll give you like 2 more damage procs, potentially. Additionally, when an enemy is defeated under the effects of Yoimiya's own Ryukin Flare, Yoimiya's attack will be increased by 20%. So what that means is that if this doesn't have a cap, what you can do is you can Flare on a large group of enemies and kill them all, and then you're gonna have like a lot of attack. But this might only stack once, so it might only be like a 20% attack damage. But hopefully it's like 20-second duration right here, so that should be good. We also don't know like her base stats yet either, so hopefully her base attack is gonna be one of the higher ones, maybe similar to like Ganyu, maybe even like max, like as high as Xiao and Eula. So Constellation 2, when Yoimiya's pyro damage causes critical hits, she will gain an additional 25% pyro damage bonus for the next 6 seconds. And Yoimiya will gain this effect even off the field, so that's going to be very good for like sub DPS Yanfei or DPS Yanfei. This is a very good Constellation right there. Now these first 2 seem like they could be her passives actually. However, since this third one right here is the level boost on her Constellations, this just seems like her Constellations. When Yoimiya's Ryukin Flare causes an explosion, the cooldown duration of Flaming Blazing Dance is decreased by 1 second. So Flaming Blazing Dance, for example, is at like an 80 energy cost. That takes 20 seconds to reactivate again if you manage to fill that back up again. And so basically every time you're going to do an explosion, you're going to decrease that by 1 second. So effectively, if you can get enough energy, you can activate her Flaming Blazing Dance a lot faster, and decreased by 1 second is actually very good if you're using like a burst rotation team comps. So C4 is very good for burst rotation team comps with Yoimiya as a sub DPS, I would say. 6 is a little bit interesting, like it's not that flashy really, but during the duration of Flaming Blazing Dance, when Yoimiya uses your normal attack, there's a 40% possibility that an additional flame arrow will be fired, dealing 50% of the original damage. And the damage is basically regarded as normal attack damage. So that basically means like she's going to be way better at like on-field normal DPS kind of. It's very similar to Kazuha actually, where he gains most of his DPS capabilities at Constellation 6. But other than that, like, yeah, that's basically it for Yoimiya. Other than that, that's basically it for Yoimiya. I will be doing another video on her weapons guide, and that should be up probably this week at some point. I'll also be doing like a Sayu kind of skills info, Kamisato Ayaka updated skills and stats info. Yeah, basically weapons guides, complete build guides for all of these characters as they release and get more finalized with their stats and abilities like I did with Kazuha. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, remember to subscribe, but it's been me, Arctic. I will see you all next time. Farewell.